Hi everyone, it's Kevin again, and with me we have Chris. Hi Chris, how you doing today?
Hey Kevin, it's a great day. Today we have Lisa Cumberpatch with us. She's going to tell us her story of how she lost a limb or multiple limbs.
Yeah, and Lisa, we were lucky to meet you. What? It's got to be about a year now that we met. Um,
We met March, April.
oh,
I was admitted April 18th.
okay.
Yeah, I think we met in April. It just feels like we've known each other for years, and because
Yeah,
we all have a connection.
you have such a good memory. I
I
can.
have to I had to remember dates
Yeah, yeah,
because my travel was unique. So
right,
in my
right.
story, I actually saved my well, like it's not like I saved my 2023 vacation days, but I didn't have time to take it.
Yeah,
And
you
so
were.
I
You were
I brought my vacation days over to 2024 and
yeah.
said I'm gonna be parentless and left the kids to go on vacation.
Yeah, you went on vacation and like this happens a lot to a lot of people that lose their limbs is that, one day life is just, normal and
Right.
you're working, you're on vacation, you're enjoying life, whatever, and all of a sudden something happens.
Yep.
So tell us your story.
So
What?
I went to Jamaica on January 13th. I stayed with family and I was supposed to return back home on, I don't know, the 21st. But for I wasn't feeling good. So I always had problems with my hemoglobin level and my I'm anemic. And part of the symptoms of having low hemoglobin is short of breath, feeling tired, just weak, faint, things like that. So I thought that's what happened to me Friday night. I just wasn't feeling good. I didn't want to eat. All I wanted to do is drink. But most of Friday was a bit of a blur. And
But
then I just remember
this
waking
has
up in the
happened
middle of the
before, right?
night.
This has happened before, Lisa. Like you've had these symptoms in the past, or this is something very new.
This is something new out of the blue. What happened to me was just completely
Okay.
unexpected.
Okay.
So Saturday morning, my son's dad said, you know what? No, you have to go to the hospital. So I got myself ready. However, I needed assistance because everything was a blur. I was weak. I couldn't see. I just remember bits and pieces because apparently I kept going in and out of consciousness. Um, and I think I just finally went unconscious and woke up 2 days later in the hospital.
Wow.
So it was my son's aunt that was came to visit me that looked at my feet and she goes, I don't like how it looks. And she brought it to the attention of the doctors. And the hospital, they're not equipped. It's a third world country. They're not equipped to take on this kind of
Right.
situation. So
That must have been
they
a little bit scary in Jamaica, not equipped. You don't know what's going.
yeah, we don't I didn't know what it was. None of us knew what we were walking into, right?
Right.
But it was evident that I had clots stuck in me. They just didn't know where. They didn't know what happened. So I woke up the Monday. Tuesday, all the doctors came to my bedside. They said, "Well, why you're Canadian? Why don't you reach out to the see if you have emergency evacuation or anything like that?" So that's when I jumped on a call to my boss to see if our coverage has that. But I also put them in panic mode because the doctor said that this is how they say it. I have to chop off your leg.
Oh no.
So that's
Yikes.
how they deliver the news in the
Yeah.
islands. They
Not
don't they're not very
amputation.
sensitive. So
Did
I
they
did
did
not
they
have no
haul a
time.
chainsaw out at that point? Or
I did not have time to process anything, but the hospital I was at didn't wasn't equipped to do any amputation. I would have to go to UE, which we call University of West Indies, or Kingston Hospital. Also, I found out we do have emergency evacuation coverage, so we triggered that. We triggered that to take place. But it takes a while because medical records have to go to Blue Cross, who I have my benefits with. Then they have to figure out what was wrong with me. The medical team had to find a hospital to accept me. Then
Right.
they have to get clearance to pick me up and drop me off. So they didn't get, so this happened on the Tuesday and they didn't come for me till Friday night around 10 at night.
Wow. It's not like
Oh,
getting on the train.
geez.
So
Chris, you were going to say something?
I can't imagine, like, because even a lot of times you go on vacation, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need travel insurance. And luckily you had it, because I don't even know, would it have been even worse if you had no insurance to come back to Canada to get treated?
that's right. So we were airlifted, me and my son's father, we were airlifted to Miami, Jackson Memorial Hospital, phenomenal hospital. Um, Obviously on the weekends they don't do procedures and so
Right.
forth. So the Monday I went in for an angiogram. So this is now January, no, January 20, January 26th is when I was airlifted. January 29th is when they did an angiogram to see where all the blockage was. Uh, January 30th, I went for a bypass surgery on my legs. And apparently through the bypass surgery, my heart was just throwing off multiple clots and they couldn't stop the clots. So it took an average about 10 hours for the bypass surgery to be completed. And it's because my body was clotting is what triggered the doctors to do further investigation. So then the Wednesday, I went in to do a heart test to see maybe I have a hole in my heart. Heart came back fine. Vials and vials of blood, process of elimination to say that eventually I have a clotting disorder called they call it APS. That's the short form for antiphospholipid syndrome. So my body just likes to attack itself.
You're in
I haven't even heard of
Jacksonville,
that.
Florida. You're in Jacksonville, Florida at that point. You
At that point, yeah.
were in Jamaica. Like, are you hitting all the vacation places? Like, but I don't mean to like light of it, but listen, we hear about people losing their limbs for many different reasons, and yours was unique to me. I never heard of this before until I met you. So that's something else. And even Chris has a unique story by losing his limbs with sepsis. Mine was with diabetes, and I've met people in car accidents, and there's lots of other reasons why we lose our limbs. So
Yeah.
I'm really
It's
interested.
hard to understand losing a limb for something you don't have control over, but
Right.
you're not aware. Like if I was aware of
You're not anticipating it, right? Like with me with diabetes, I knew that I was going to probably lose one of my legs by stepping on something. It was just a risk factor. But with
that's a warning. So diabetes
yeah,
is a warning that if you don't take care of
right.
yourself, this could happen down the line. But what bothered me is here in Canada in December of 2021, like I said, I have problems with my hemoglobin, my anemia, to the point I go for blood transfusion and iron transfusion. And um, I used to bleed like for 30 days straight at a time. So by the time I'm finished, everything is sucked out of me. So I had to go back to the hospital to be replenished. Um, Through ultrasounds because they couldn't figure out why I bleed so heavy. Is it part of menopause? What's going on? A year and a half of going through the cycle. I did ultrasounds. It did pick up a clot in the IVC vein, which is a vein that leads from the heart to the lung. And it was just lodged there.
Wow.
And that was just picked up by fluke because I did not go for an ultrasound for my heart. I went for my abdominal section. Treated with 6 months of blood thinners. Okay, you're fine. But they said, okay, you're fine without doing another ultrasound to check me. So I had to trigger my doctor to push for an ultrasound to make sure it was gone.
Right.
And that was it. That was it.
Yeah,
But if I feel here in Ontario, we have to advocate for ourselves, because if we don't, it's just okay, we'll just treat your problem. They don't get to the
yeah,
root of the cause.
Yep.
And it's, I don't know. No words could explain. You guys understand what we're going through. So
absolutely. Yeah,
um
one of the biggest things is advocating for yourself. And
yeah,
Chris, you went through that yourself. You want to say
I
something?
think we're very similar because, in this, not in the sense, but I had no clue. Like, it's literally on a Friday, I'm good. A Saturday, I was kind of having a headache, didn't feel that good. I don't remember anything after Saturday. Sunday, apparently, I was just lying on the couch. I couldn't eat. Monday, Monday, I was supposed to go to the walk-in clinic, and my mom said, "Let's call the ambulance instead, because the hospital will run the stuff faster. You can get results." And I would have been dead. So
Yeah,
from
wow.
Friday to Monday, I would have been dead. They told me, I think on Tuesday, well, not me. They said by Tuesday I had two hours to live.
yeah. My
So they're
story
like,
is
they said, say your goodbyes.
yeah,
He's not gonna make it through.
my story is very similar. Sorry for cutting you off, Chris, but I looked at my toes and there was a small blister in between my toes. And my wife said, "Well, what happened to the bottom of your toe?" Of course, I can't see the bottom of my toe where how I'm sitting. So when she leaned forward, she said, "We better get to the hospital." And when I got to the hospital, I was going septic. And they said, "We have to amputate, your toes at that point, or you're going to die." So you don't have any choices, right, in these matters. So, it's a really scary point
Yeah,
at that time.
absolutely. I mean, just like Chris said, on the Thursday before I was rock climbing, I was on an
Right.
ATV, I was playing laser tag. I was good. However, when I was rock climbing, I noticed that I was a bit short of breath, so I did not make it to the top. And it felt like symptoms of low red blood count, which is your hemoglobin, right? So I'm like, no, I have to sit this one out. I can't do it. But it came to the fact that little clots were breaking up and going into my lungs, and that's another sign of clots. Well, who knew?
Who knew, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now I did have to go for a retest here at Toronto General, because apparently we have one of the best. We have the best thrombosis department out at Toronto General. One doctor in all of Canada,
Wow.
and he's
Oh,
at Toronto General. He has a little team, and apparently everybody comes to see him. And even the doctors in Miami were the ones who said, when you get home, get a referral, go see
Toronto.
the doctors at Toronto General, and the second best hospital would be St. Michael's
Isn't that
when it comes
interesting?
to the thrombosis department. So they had to retest me for the antiphospholipid antibodies. I had to come off the warfarin, go on injectable blood thinners. That should hurt. That hurt.
Yeah.
That left bruising. I didn't like it, and it put me in pain. I had to do that for 2 weeks. Then I had to go down and do a series of blood tests to come back to say, yes, you do have the antibodies. Um, but in Miami, the doctors did say, I'm going to put you on warfarin. This is the best blood thinner for your condition, even though they call it rat poisoning.
Really?
And they said one of the main causes for my hemoglobin to be low and was being anemic, having no iron in me. And since they put me on warfarin, I have to knock on wood and say I haven't had trouble with my hemoglobin, my iron. You can see me in a tank top. Otherwise, I would be covered with a toque and a scarf. You know, they diagnosed me. They were whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say because I'm so upset and hurt that I went through a year and a half, almost 2 years of this issue. And that's why I wanted to go to Jamaica, because one, it was cheaper, had family, I had the fruits and I had the food and I had the sun to keep me warm.
Yeah.
So now I'm not afraid of flying, but I would not fly by myself,
No,
right?
no.
No, not by myself. I
Hey,
would always want somebody with me. I don't know what will happen. They say look for the signs, but what if? And
yeah,
just like Chris, you see, he said he was fine. He got a little headache, and then it was in and out of remembering, not remembering. That's exactly. I got short of breath, and
yeah.
that's it.
Hey, Lisa, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about how you're doing now, emotionally, physically. How has rehab gone? How you making out at home? Those types of things.
Um, I'm doing good. I do have my depressing times, which I shake myself out of it. I think my motivation here, I have two boys I still take care of. Even
Right.
though one is 18, he's still a little kid,
They're
right?
always they're always your boys until
They
they,
will rely on me. So they're my motivation, even getting through this whole transition phase. They are my motivation, right?
yeah.
Um, so far, for the most part, it's good. I still go every 2 weeks for adjustments of the prosthetic, because that's not easy to get accustomed to. Um, Rehab is completed for me, so I have a little gym downstairs in the condo I'm living at. Me and Keon just went downstairs, did a little half an hour workout, and came back up. Um,
How are
but
you
I'm doing
finding
good.
how are you finding that? Are you finding that staying disciplined is difficult, or are you just like, hey, I'm gonna go down and work out again and get even stronger?
I second part, I'm gonna go down and get and continue.
Good for
But
you.
my personality is, there's times I get lazy. I don't want to do anything. I prefer to work out with somebody because they're my motivation. I just get lazy when I have to do it by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You
To
think
gotta
tell
that's
you
beat
the
the other
worse.
truth.
person.
What's that, Chris?
You gotta beat the other person. It gives you something to push.
Yes. That's why I like classroom environments. But you know what? The last few days I've been going down by myself. Today I just waited for my younger son to come home and we went to the gym.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, I'm doing good. I get up, I still move around, I still clean, I still cook, I'm working from home, so that part of my life still continues on.
So you
I
have
just want
come,
to make sure I stay stronger so when I get older,
yeah,
I can still I'm not dependent on somebody.
right. And so you're still you went back to work, you said?
I'm back at work, but I'm majority of the times I work from home. I once
Yeah.
in a while I go out and see a client here or there, but
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're up and
Sorry,
working. Yep.
they amputated just a leg or
Yes. Oh, so they amputated, I lost the second toe on my left foot and then below the knee on the right.
that was did they do it here or they did it when in Jamaica or
All my
Florida?
procedures were done in Miami.
Oh,
The
Miami did everything for you.
angiogram, the bypass, I did two, so they amputated the second toe and they amputated a portion of the right foot because I still had feeling in my heels and so forth. They weren't sure how far they needed to amputate. But when they did the amputation, they looked at it. Uh, the team got together and they said no. They gave me an options. They said you could live like this, continue. You're young, you could continue, but eventually I will catch a blood infection and I would have to go for another amputation. I'm like, no, just correct it one time. And so I went back in for the proper amputation.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, I don't know, do you know if there was the time delay? Because you said you got felt sick on like a Friday, Saturday you're feeling sick, then it took all the way till the next week to get you to Florida where they can, did that
I think that was
lead
a main
to any of
factor.
the, yeah.
Yeah, I think the waiting was a main factor. I think that the medical team at they in Jamaica, they were just a little too laid back, didn't take it really serious. Um, there, if you have to pay for everything first before you can get any procedures done, like
Yeah.
MRIs or ultrasounds and things like that. So without that, you're kind of by the wayside type of thing. They did take care of me closer to the end from the Wednesday to the Friday because they found out that I knew the director of the hospital, and it was just by fluke. So one of my nieces is a doctor, but out in Kingston, and her best friend lives here in Toronto, and her aunt is the director of the hospital that I was admitted to in Jamaica. So
Oh,
it's a small world.
It's
So when
all
they saw her by my bedside, the doctors freaked, and she took over from there.
it's all about connections, I guess, eh?
yeah.
It
In this
is.
world. Well, listen, I really appreciate you joining the show today. There's so much to unpack in your story. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I'd love to like connect again and do another podcast and maybe drill into some of these different topics that have come to light on this session.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you joining, Lisa, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Chris, thanks so much. Do you have any final words at all before we go?
No, just thank you to Lisa for telling us a story. Thank you for the listeners for listening. And that's
Yeah.
the end of this podcast from Kevin and Chris. Stay tuned for our next podcast coming to you soon.
Thank you. Take
Thanks,
care,
everyone.
guys.